The message wasn't meant for me. That much was obvious the second I saw it. Just one line, no name attached, sitting quietly on my husband's phone like it had every right to be there. "Suite 309, I'm already here." I stood in the kitchen, staring at the screen longer than I should have, the pasta on the stove going cold behind me. Ethan had told me he'd be working late again. That had become normal lately. Late nights, short answers, a distance I kept trying to explain away. But something about this message didn't feel like suspicion. It felt like certainty, like a truth that had been waiting for me to catch up to it. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just grabbed my keys and left. The drive to the hotel felt unreal, like I was watching someone else make decisions with my hands. My heart was racing, but my mind kept trying to calm me down, offering excuses I didn't even believe anymore. Maybe it was work. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, beneath all the noise, there was a quiet voice that had already accepted what I was about to see. The hallway outside Suite 309 was too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes every step feel louder than it should. I stood in front of the door for a moment, my hand hovering in the air, as if knocking would make everything permanent. Then I knocked anyway. When the door opened, my life split into two versions, before and after. Ethan stood there, frozen, his shirt slightly unbuttoned, his expression caught between shock and something he couldn't hide fast enough. And behind him, sitting comfortably like she belonged in that room, was Madison, my best friend. Not a stranger, not someone easy to dismiss, someone who had sat at my table, laughed in my home, listened to my fears. For a second, nothing moved. There was no yelling, no dramatic reaction, just silence. The kind of silence that comes when pain is too big to process all at once. Madison was the first to speak, her voice calm in a way that made everything worse. She didn't look guilty. She didn't look ashamed, just mildly inconvenienced. "You weren't supposed to find out like this," she said, like I had ruined the timing of something planned. Ethan tried to step toward me, already reaching for words. "Olivia, please, just listen." I raised my hand before he could finish, not out of anger, but because I already understood something he didn't. People don't explain things that look innocent. They explain things that already look wrong. So I turned around and walked away. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, not there, because sometimes when something breaks too deeply, your body doesn't react immediately. It shuts down first. It wasn't until I was sitting alone in my car that the shaking started. My hands trembled so badly I had to grip the steering wheel just to feel grounded. And then, almost without thinking, I opened my phone and started recording. My voice came out quieter than I expected, like it didn't belong to me. "My name is Olivia Carter," I whispered. "I just found my husband Ethan in a hotel room with my best friend Madison." I stopped, listening to my own breathing. I almost deleted it, but I didn't. Because somewhere deep inside me, I knew the truth would try to disappear later, and I wasn't going to let that happen. When Ethan came home, the house felt different. Not broken yet, just exposed. He walked in carefully, like he already knew the version of me waiting for him wasn't the same one he had left behind. He tried the usual line, the one people always reach for when they run out of truth. "It's not what you think." I let out a small, tired laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. I asked him what part wasn't what I thought, the hotel, the room, or the fact that my best friend looked completely at home there. He didn't have a real answer, just fragments, just excuses, just that same weak attempt to make something obvious feel complicated. But it wasn't complicated. Betrayal is simple. It's just a series of choices someone hopes you'll never find out about. The next morning, the story had already started changing. Madison had called my mom before I even had time to process everything. By the time my phone rang, I already knew what I was going to hear. Words like misunderstanding, emotions, overreaction, the usual script. The same way people soften the truth when it's too uncomfortable to face directly. But something in me had shifted overnight. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just stopped participating in the version of reality they were trying to build. Instead, I started looking at facts, bank statements, transactions, hidden charges. At first, I thought I was just confirming the affair. But the deeper I looked, the more I realized the affair was just one part of something bigger. There were hotel bookings, expensive gifts I had never seen, and money quietly transferred to accounts that didn't belong to me. One of them belonged to Madison. That was the moment everything changed. Not the hotel room, not the confrontation. The realization that this wasn't just emotional betrayal, it was planned. I wasn't just being lied to. I was being used. That's when I stopped reacting like a hurt wife and started thinking like someone responsible for her own future. I found a lawyer. Her name was Rebecca Hayes. Calm, sharp, and impossible to manipulate. She looked through everything, then leaned back and said, "He didn't just cheat, he prepared." "For what?" I asked. "For a future without you, funded by you." That sentence didn't break me. It woke me up. From that point on, everything I did was quiet and intentional. I secured my finances, copied documents, changed passwords, protected myself without announcing it. Because the strongest moves aren't loud, they're strategic. Ethan noticed the change, but he didn't understand it. He thought I was being distant, emotional, maybe even dramatic. But I wasn't emotional anymore. I was done. The night he invited everyone over for dinner, I knew exactly what he was trying to do. Control the narrative. Turn the situation into something manageable, something that made him look reasonable and me look unstable. So I let him. I cooked, set the table, smiled just enough to make him comfortable. And when the moment came, I ended it. No yelling, no breakdown, just a folder placed quietly in front of him. Inside it was everything. Messages, receipts, transfers, proof. Truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to exist. The room went silent. Madison's face lost color. Ethan stopped talking mid-sentence, and for the first time, I wasn't the one being questioned. I was the one holding the truth, and that changes everything. I didn't stay long after that. There was nothing left to fix. Some things don't need closure, they just need distance. The months that followed weren't easy, but they were clear, and clarity is powerful. Ethan lost more than the marriage. He lost control, and once people see who you really are, they don't forget it. Madison reached out once, a short message, not an apology, just an attempt to soften what she had done. I didn't respond, because not every message deserves a reply, and not every person deserves access to your peace. The hardest part wasn't losing them, it was realizing who they really were. But the strongest part? Realizing who I could become without them. Because betrayal doesn't destroy you the way it feels like it will, it reveals the truth. And once you see clearly, you get to choose what happens next. Stay broken, or rebuild, stronger, smarter, and finally honest with yourself. And sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's building a life so strong, they no longer matter in it at all.